Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Iacino along with Mike Arnold. This is an afternoon path chat for April 24th, covering the futures markets. Mike is going to cover everything: transports, VIX, crude, metals, Nasdaq, Dow, all the way through to silver. A couple of things. We had one little batch of economic data. It wasn't really that heavy, but it was German business climate, German expectations, and German current assessment from the IFO. And interestingly, the current business climate and the current assessment both beat, while the expectations for future change missed. Didn't miss by much, but it's interesting to note that the current numbers were a little higher and the expectations were a little bit lower. You know at this point about the French elections, really a victory for polling and pollsters as much it is for anything. That the election right now, the center candidate Emmanuel Macron, is definitely leading in the polls. A lot can change, especially depending on where Emmanuel Mélenchon tries to throw his supporters. So things can tighten up and things can change before the May runoff. But right now, the market is believing in the polls again. That's the interesting part about this, is that the polls were correct, almost to the number, about who was going to get what percentage and who was going to advance on to the runoff. So what that means is it takes uncertainty away. The market likes certainty. And in the past, when there were elections, the certainty came from the polls. After Brexit and after the election of Donald Trump, the polls were suspect. So it was putting a second layer of uncertainty into elections. Since the Dutch election and now the French election went right with the polls, we're getting a little bit of that certainty back. Geopolitics outside of the election: North Korea threatened to sink a U.S. battleship, a U.S. destroyer. And Nikki Haley, the ambassador to the UN, basically said, we're not looking for a fight, so don't give us a reason to have one. So geopolitics still front and center, but obviously huge up moves in the equities, especially the Nasdaq, new record high, new record close. Crude oil continues weak, and gold fell along with the expectations of a continued European Union. Let me turn it over to Mike to let you know what he's seeing in terms of price action. Mike, it is all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Let's first look at the transports. Nice gap up today. This did trigger a path trading double bottom with this move. If this is going to go all the way to target, this would be a two-target trade. First target right around the 95.33, second target 96.40 area. So those are the two targets to watch for in the transports. Those are longer term targets. It might take days or weeks to get there, but those are the targets in the stop reduction zones right around this 94.25 area. Shorter term levels, if we pull back, we are watching for a retest of the 92.20. And then if we get below that, 91.78, and below that, the 91.33. On a continued rally above today's high, next resistance area is 93.23, followed by the next major areas is 94.20 area. Those are what we'll be watching for. Let's switch over to the industrials. Also, very nice gap up today off the French election results. Came and hit our 25% gain level, 20,796, and moved back down. If it continues higher, that's going to be that 20,796 to 20,800 is going to be some resistance tomorrow. And then above there, we are looking for a retest of a defining point, which comes in at 20,887.50. Then above that, 20,982. On a pullback, watch for support around the open today, 20,723. And then if that is broken, 20,609, where we have a turning up area of the 21, the 8 coming up, and a GAN level. If for some reason that is all broken, we have 20,550 as the next level down. Over to the S&P. In the S&P, we have also the gap open, right pretty much to a prior key level we had marked on the charts. right around the 2363 to 2366 area. Ran up, tested our defining point area at 2375. What was the exact high today? The high was 2376.75, so that did test our defining point, which was resistance. If we get back above that defining point, we are looking for 2381 as the next level, and then the level beyond that about 2388, and finally followed by 2393. On a pullback, we have some support in this 2363 to 2364 area. Below that, we're looking at about 2361, and then we really don't have much until we can fall back to this 2354.50 area. Then below that, we have 2350, where we have the first cross of a very flat rotation zone. Finally, Nasdaq, which we updated our levels higher for to do price projections since it broke above this high set back on April 5th. Didn't quite get to our next minor level, 55.22. So that's going to be the next level up if we rally. And then beyond that, we're looking for 55.43. Longer term, we're still looking for, on a much continued rally, the 5600 area. On a pullback, very key support right around 54.80. Then we'll have some support coming in at 54.70 to 71. Then we don't really have much until 54.45, and slightly below that 54.34, where we have a rising 8 and potential trend line support. So we will go over to crude right now. Crude, again, another sell-off day. We've pointed out this flattening 200 right here, which did provide the support, that 48.97 to 49 mark. That's going to be very key support tomorrow. If that is broken and it goes lower, 48.70, then followed by about 48.50. And then if that's all broken, not much until 47.93 to 48. On a rally back up, watch for minor resistance about 49.52. Then right around today's highs, which came in at 50.22, we have another key level at 50.27 and then 50.38. So there's going to be lots of resistance overhead right in that area. And if it does rally through that significant level, 50.75, where we also have a declining 8 EMA coming in. Finally, let's wrap up with some metals. Metals rallied up, went through our 255.8 level, didn't quite get to our 257.79. So that's going to be some key area on a further rally tomorrow. It closed back below the 8, which is coming in around that 255.96 area. So those are the levels going to be watching for. If we do get through about that 257.55 area, next level up is 258.98, where we also have a decline in 21. Support 254.13, followed by about 253.57. Then the next level below that is 252.78, and then really nothing until we get around about down to the 251 area. Finally, if that's broken and that trend line does not hold as support, we're looking for the 249.50 area. Over to gold. Gold sold off pretty close to our key significant level, about that 1265, and then rallied back up above the trend line, and it found this is where the rotation zone held. On a move higher tomorrow, resistance 1280, then nothing much till about 1284 to 1285. Then if that's broken, we're looking at 1292, then 1294, then 1297. On a move back lower, 1271 to 1272, first level of resistance, 1265 to 66, and then we're looking for 57 to 58 as very key resistance. If all that happens to be broken, 1250 is the next level down. Finally, silver, which actually traded lower, right down to our GAN cluster area around that 1752, and then rallied back up and ended up closing up on the day. On a continued move higher, 1790 first minor resistance, followed by 1798 to 18, followed by 1808. Then if we get above that, 1820. On a pullback, watch for support about 1781, followed by 1772, and then nothing back down until we get to today's lows right around the 1750 to 54 area. Finally, just to point out for point of completeness, since I didn't do this earlier, we have the VIX, which has plummeted back down, closed around the 1084 area, which is, hasn't been that low in quite some time, at least on a closing basis. So it's definitely, people are looking at this with, they don't need any risk protection right now. We were talking about how we might have a short-term bottom put in last week when it dipped back below our significant levels, and that short-term bottom was pretty much confirmed with the moves today and the French election results. So we'll have to keep watching this periodically to see if we get some more, if and when people start looking at risk again and start buying some risk protection. That's all we have for you. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks everybody for watching. We will see you in the next Path Chat. Cheers, everyone.